I usually have 2 live streams going on at once. One on Facebook and one on Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. So, they say you can never do enough marketing. Yeah, exactly. So I usually have, to my left I have Facebook, to the center of me I have Zoom, and then to the right I have Instagram. Mm-hmm. You know how many people were expected today? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 20 is a pretty good number then. Yeah, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys for joining Facebook Live. Let me see. And then we also got Instagram live streaming. We got Tiffany. Hey, what's going on, Tiffany? What's up, Gary? Yeah, we'll be getting started in like 2 minutes. Yeah, I would say midday can be a little tough sometimes. Right, exactly. For sure. Definitely appreciate it. All right, so I know we're running short on time, so let me get straight into the agenda for today. And I'll be going until, let me make sure I got my timer with me. 1 second. I always like to keep track of time when it comes to these presentations. So we'll go till about 2:35 Central. So I'll keep it short, and I know we'll have a lot of questions at the end. But I wanted to tailor my presentation today around the basics of business, right? So just, and I know we have an attorney in the room, so I won't get too deep into the incorporation and all that good stuff. I'll just cover some of the basics because I really want to take it a step back and to make sure that we don't fall into this COVID-19 trap in the future if this were to ever happen again. We know in 2008, we had a big crisis that went on and businesses pretty much had to shut down. And the same thing is happening in 2020, 12 years later. So I want to make sure we don't ever repeat the mistake. And then we also take advantage of the programs. How do we get out of, so if we are in this mess, that we're in right now, how do we get out of this mess basically too? So some of these topics may be off agenda. I really wanted to, today I was thinking like, what is the best way to deliver this message today? And my thing is, let me take it to the basics, and then let's talk about what's happening now and how we can do things in the future. So real quick agenda, I'll give you guys an introduction of who I am, what it is that I represent. We'll cover incorporation briefly, so we won't get too deep into the legal. Then we'll talk about taxes, and then we'll talk about how to make sure you're keeping track of your finances. We'll go through some accounting basics and things of that nature. And the software that we typically use is called QuickBooks. And then we'll leave it at the end. I know this is a formal presentation, so we'll have a Q&A session. But as Quandra said, if you have a burning question, please feel free to ask it by unmuting yourself and put it in the chat box. And we are streaming live, full disclosure, on Facebook and Instagram. So if you guys have any questions, I'll probably respond via chat. So who am I? My name is Jeff Badu. I'm a licensed certified public accountant. I attended the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in 2014 and 2015, respectively. So I do have a formal education in accounting. I'm a parallel entrepreneur as well as a wealth multiplier. I'm the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises, LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. We provide a suite of financial services, including our marquee service or company, which is Badu Tax Services, LLC. And it's a multinational tax firm that provides tax preparation, planning, and representation services to individuals and businesses. We also do things such as bookkeeping, financial coaching, things of that nature. On top of that, I am an investor, so I'm primarily a real estate investor through Badu Investments, LLC, where we invest in multifamily units on the south side of Chicago, primarily. And so, for example, this year, one of our goals is to we're in the process of acquiring about 50 units in Chicago, as well as we go to Gary, Indiana. So we even go that far to Indiana to acquire some units. And these are our rental properties typically. So we just rent them out to tenants that need a stable place to live. I'm very passionate when it comes to financial literacy, and my Badu Foundation is actually launching in a few months from now, which will be a financial literacy foundation, providing free financial education resources and literacy to the community. And then really quick, I would like to say my purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. So just really quick, let's talk about business incorporation. Now, how do we, and then I'll tie this back to the COVID-19 thing too, but whenever you're starting a business, I always say before you go out and sell a piece of lemonade, or let's say a kid who's on the street selling lemonade, or somebody who's doing taxes for the first time, or somebody who has a construction company, one of the very first things you should do is get a legal entity, right? Remember, full disclosure, we have an attorney on the call today, so I'll cover the basics. For me, I like LLCs, limited liability companies. The reason why I like LLCs is because it's very simple, so very simple structure. You have flexibility, so all my companies, you can see, they end with the words LLC, or with the letters LLC. because they're very flexible. You get to choose how you want to be taxed. You can be taxed as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, an S corporation, or a C corporation. So LLC and corporation are usually the two types of legal entities. The main difference is the LLC, you have a lot of flexibility, and with a company like a corporation, it's just a lot more maintenance, but you do get to elect to be taxed as an S corp. Remember, as an LLC, you also get to be taxed as an S corp. So I like the LLC for the flexibility, for the low maintenance. So it's very, very low maintenance. It's about $150 to set up in the state of Illinois. But if you're going through a professional where you get your articles of organization, your operating agreement, and all these other things, you may have to pay an additional service fee. Why you should incorporate your company? For one, it enhances your credibility. Me personally, I don't do business with anybody unless they have the words LLC or the letters LLC, INC, CRP next to their name, because it just shows that seriousness of that person. If you're somebody that's out there doing things in your personal name, to be honest, I can't really take your business serious. I don't consider you a business at that point. You may have what's known as a hobby, right? And that's with all due respect. So it enhances the credibility of the person, because it just makes people take you more serious. The number one reason why we form entities, though, is to protect your personal assets. So nobody can basically, as long as you're doing things the right way, nobody can sue you and claim your personal assets. Now, here's one big thing we've learned in COVID-19. In order to get capital, we must, and I repeat, we must have LLC, INC, because in order to qualify for example, the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, although they're allowing people to apply through sole proprietorships, independent contractor, guess what? If you have an LLC or an INC, it just makes you look more credible. So as we can see, these COVID-19 financial resources are more so available to those that have an LLC or an INC next to their name, right? If you're an S corp, it's expected that you're running payroll, so you're putting yourself on W-2 payroll, and that's how you qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program, and that they go based off 2.5 times your average monthly payroll for the past 12 months. So if you don't have that in place already, and in order to get that in place, you need an LLC or an S corp or an INC. It's highly recommended that we get these things because we can't take advantage of these programs. For example, if you want to get an SBA loan, a traditional SBA loan, you typically have to be in business for about 2 years. In order to get the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, they are allowing independent contractors and sole proprietors to get it. However, I guarantee you they're probably looking at LLCs and INCs more seriously, as opposed to the independent contractor or the sole proprietor. All right, so my advice to business owners is we got to get these things in place. Right, so it makes us look good. It gives us tax benefits. So let's talk about the S corp really quick. An LLC tax as an S corp, you get to save about 15% or so on your taxes, meaning you get to save on FICA, self-employment tax, the thing that we all hate, the Social Security tax. So with that, basically what we do is we form the company. It could be an LLC or an INC or corporation, and we have to file a form called the 2553 S Corp election form. This is where a lot of my new clients go wrong, is they forget to file the form and they think they're an S Corp. In order to truly be an S Corp, you have to file this paperwork and submit it to the IRS. This is one of the services. This is one of the core services that we offer in our firm. You send it to the IRS, and then you officially become an S Corp. With an S Corp, the stipulations are you must run payroll, W-2 payroll. For us, we typically go through ADP in order to run our payroll for our clients. They do a great job when it comes to that. So with the S Corp, what we do is we typically take 25% of your profit, and we call that your salary or your W-2 salary. And that's just the reason why we do 25% is because that's the sweet spot for the IRS, basically. That's the spot where they won't question you or they won't give you any eyeballs. So if you made $100,000 profit, income minus expenses equals profit. That equals, if it's $100,000, your payroll or salary should be $25,000, right? And that would qualify you for the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, as well. And then basically the $25,000 would be subject to FICA, so the extra 15%, but your 75% won't be subject to any FICA tax. So basically what you're saving is 75% of 100,000, which is 75,000. You're saving 15% taxes on that 75,000. So that's the number one reason why we form an LLC or an INT tax as an S corp. If you have a sole proprietorship, you cannot get this benefit. You're gonna get hit with the 15% FICA tax. Now, one thing really quick is the COVID-19 or the CARES Act did provide a payroll tax credit or a self-employed tax credit if you've been impacted by the COVID-19, and that they'll give you a credit for the payroll taxes you pay, or if you're a sole proprietor, you get to take a tax credit when you file your 2020 tax return in 2021. Now let's talk about taxes. Why you should file? Because you earn an income. You don't want to go to jail, basically. So, truly, I mean, filing tax return helps you stay compliant with tax laws and regulations. You do have to file annually. So if you made over $400 in your business, you do have to file a tax return. And then you might have to make quarterly estimated tax payments if you expect to owe throughout the year. Another reason why we file is it can help you get a tax refund. So taxpayers can receive a tax refund at the end of the year by filing a tax return. A tax refund is simply money that you overpaid to the government, and they are refunding you the money back, essentially. Right? And then also you can write off your expenses, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But as a business owner, you can write off pretty much all your business expenses, meals, travel, utilities, all of that stuff. That's another reason why we need to have ourselves incorporated, LLC'd up, all that good stuff. Now, another reason, you cannot get your stimulus check unless you filed a tax return. So there's a stimulus check that came out of about $1,200. A lot of people got it last week. I got over 50 phone calls last Wednesday of people not receiving their stimulus checks, and they're asking why. Well, one reason is if you didn't file your 2018 tax return, at least you won't get a stimulus check until you file the 2018 tax return. And then we say, hey, client, if you haven't filed 2019, let's squeeze that in as well. Why not? Why not stay fully compliant? So basically, to get that stimulus check, you have to file. If you're somebody who's called a non-filer who didn't earn any income throughout the year, or you collect SSI, Social Security or disability income, then all you have to do with the Social Security, there's an automatic deposit into your account. However, if you don't collect Social Security, the IRS doesn't have any payment information for you on file. What happens is that you have to go to the irs.gov website and use the non-filer. They call it a non-filer system program. So ultimately, the advice here is get your taxes filed. If COVID-19 hasn't taught us anything, it's to make sure we have our tax returns filed, because we can't qualify for these programs unless we have the returns filed. Now, there is a hint, or there is a high likelihood that another stimulus is coming of about $2,000 per month. Now, with that, and that's so if you're a married couple, that's $4,000 per month, as long as you're below the income requirements, basically. So yeah, with that being said, these are programs that we can get free money, basically. I always tell people, when the government is giving out free money freely like this, we got to take advantage. Whether, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how much you're making. It's you have a right as a U.S. citizen or somebody who's living in the U.S. to claim government money. You pay taxes just like anybody else. So why shouldn't you be entitled to money that you are truly qualified for? So PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and also stimulus checks and all these other things, we have to make sure that we're taking advantage, full advantage. Now let's talk about write-offs as a business owner. The definition of a write-off is something that helps you reduce your tax liability. So if you made $100,000 in income and you have write-offs of $25,000, you're left with $75,000 of taxable income. This is why it's important. In order for a write-off to be truly deductible, it has to be ordinary and necessary. Ordinary simply means that it's ordinary for a tax firm to have a computer. It's very ordinary for a tax firm to have a tax software. It's very ordinary for a law firm, to basically travel to court, or to have a software that helps with legal, or maybe training and education. So that's what it means when it says ordinary. Necessary means it's necessary for you to grow your business. It's very necessary for me to have an Apple Watch, right? It's very necessary for me to go to Jamaica and be able to talk to people about my business. Those are all very necessary things because I can't grow as a company. We're a multinational conglomerate. We can't grow as a company unless we do these things. So as a business owner, this is your chance to take advantage. Trips, anytime you travel, that should be a business deduction, right? All you have to do is work at least 4 hours in a given workday, and you get weekends off, so you don't have to work during the weekends or the travel days, or you declare it as a board meeting. Why do we need LLCs and INCs? Because you cannot have a board unless you have a company. So in order to deduct travel, without you actually having to work, and a board meeting is simply you going in a room for 5 minutes, writing something down on paper, on company letterhead, and I'm sure, there's templates and all that you can use. Whether it's Jamaica, whether it's Thailand, the Philippines, India, wherever you want to go, or maybe it's down the street to New York, or wherever it is that you want to go, those are all things you can deduct. Meals, anytime you eat with somebody, as long as you discuss business, before, during, or after the meal, that's a business deduction. Right? All you got to do is get the receipt, right? Write down who you talked to or who was present at the meal, 1 or 2 words about what you discussed, and boom, that becomes a tax write-off. You just take a picture of that receipt, and we'll talk about the QuickBooks section, but basically you put that in your files. Fees, dues, utilities, home office. There's so many things. And then also retirement savings. Business owners are in the best position to save for retirement. We can save over $50,000 per year for retirement. That's just like non-IRA, non Roth traditional IRA stuff. This is purely business owner retirement. Business owners are in the best position versus a regular W-2 employee, only $19,500 in contributions. Business owner over $50,000. So that can accelerate your retirement. If you do the compound interest, time value of money, you're looking at over 100 times more than your average W-2 employee. So what is one thing that we've learned in COVID-19? We must self-sustain and we must start a business. 22 million people were laid off or lost their jobs over the past month. The data hasn't even come out this week yet, but I guarantee you it's going to be probably about another 6 million. People are losing jobs left and right. So what does this mean is we need to find a way to self-sustain. We need to find a business that we got to start. I've said this time and time again, that in America, in order to truly live the American dream, there has to be some business. It doesn't even have to be a full-time business, although I encourage you to, but it has to be some business, whether it's an online store, whether it's a tax firm, whether it's real estate, right? You cannot live off of one stream of income today. It's impossible. You need to have at least 3, 5. The average millionaire, about 7, right? You have to have multiple streams of income. And if you are a business owner, this applies to you too. You're not off the hook. You got to have multiple revenue streams, multiple profit centers, they call it. So the same concepts apply. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket, because what happens when your brick and mortar barbershop shuts down? Then what do? Well, maybe you had a real estate company that's going. Maybe you were a realtor, a real estate agent that's able to do closings. Maybe you have investments that you're able to do. Maybe you're a day trader. So you got to make sure you have multiple streams of income. It is extremely important when it comes to this wealth building and tax stuff. Now, other things you can write off as a business owner: home office. So you can use the that simplified versus the regular method. Simplified method simply means you take $5 and you multiply it by the square footage of the office. So this room that you're looking at right now is actually a home office. We've been in here for about 4 years now. In our business model, we said that we would one day be a 100% virtual company. And I'm proud to say that today we are a 100% virtual company, meaning that we don't ever have to go anywhere. We got about 30 people in the tax firm. No, like clients walking here sometimes like, man, where are the employees? I'm like, they're working all around. We got folks in India. We got folks in the Philippines. We got folks in Ghana. We got folks in Thailand. We got folks everywhere, all around the U.S. So Another thing COVID-19 should have taught people, or should teach you right now, is you gotta have a virtual business model of some sort. And that whether it's virtual consultations, all of my psychologists right now, or my therapists, they're doing virtual consultations right now with people. They're like, you know what? We might not necessarily need to meet with people face to face physically. It's nice and it's great, but how about we do things virtually? It saves you and the client time at the end of the day. Nobody has to travel anywhere. So one thing that I think COVID-19 will really, really show or demonstrate is that businesses will go virtual. More businesses will end up going virtual. The folks, the people that had big offices, brick and mortar, they'll be like, you know what? If the employees can work from home, well, why are we paying for an office? I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How come we can't do this now? Like, why is it that COVID-19 had to be the thing that told us that we can do things virtual? Now, it's not always easy, or it's not always feasible to go virtual. And I understand that. People love the face-to-face and all that, and it's cool. We love meeting with our clients. However, when we can do things in such an efficient way, such a collaborative, technologically just dominant world that we live in today, we got to make sure we take advantage, right? And then when you're doing these things, you're saving money for one, and then two, you can still write off internet. Your internet expense now becomes more tax deductible because more of it is being used for your business, right? Health insurance premiums. Anytime you pay for health insurance, those are tax deductible as well. And then so I mentioned earlier that you have to pay self-employment or FICA tax if you don't have an S corp. Well, you get to deduct 1/2 of it. Let's say for those that don't have an S corp, you do get to deduct half. So effectively, the 15% turns out to be about 10%. It's not really 15%. It's kind of hard to explain, but let's just say it's 10% of the FICA tax. And then consider becoming an S corp for tax purposes. We've already talked about that. So this is the last slide. With the time and everything, I tried to be very, very strategic on this one, and just making sure I kept it very, very short to the point. But let's just, with the 5 minutes that we have, let's talk about some accounting stuff. So why do you need to keep track of your books? Why do you need to keep track of accounting and all this stuff? Well, for one, you have to keep track of the money. If you're not keeping track of the money, then what happens is that you have a hobby, right? You don't have a business. If you can't keep track, if you don't know last month how much revenue you made, or if you don't know in 2019 how much revenue you brought in and how much expenses you spent, you don't have a business at that point. And you're not considered a business. The IRS won't even consider you a business, because if they audited you and they requested information, the first thing they're going to request is your income and expense, or your profit and loss. If you say you don't have it, you automatically failed the audit. So why do we need to do this? Is because we truly want to take ourselves serious as business owners. If we're not serious about our business, we'll end up going bankrupt. We'll be out of business. 9 out of 10 small businesses fail within the first 5 years. And then another 9 out of 10 of those end up failing after that. Why is that? Is some people say lack of capital, which I get, especially in a time like this, we need capital. And they're throwing out free money right now. PPP, EIDL, first come, first serve. They did run out of money, but I heard today that they will be releasing more money, or they're very, very close to approving something to release more money into the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, through the SBA, Small Business Administration. So with that being said, you need to take your business serious. You can't have a serious business unless you have these things in place, unless you have a profit and loss, a balance sheet. When they came out with the initial SBA loan, they said, hey, you got to have 2019 tax return filed, and then you also have to have a balance sheet and income statement. If I told you how many clients contacted me for those items, you would be surprised. And this is during tax season. We're swamped with tax returns, but we have to take time. We have to accumulate additional resources to really take care of our business owners. And we do have a bookkeeper that helps us with all this stuff. But essentially, we use QuickBooks to keep track and automate the process of our bookkeeping and our financials. QuickBooks allows us to automatically download and categorize transactions, participate in online billing, create professional-looking invoices and estimates, upload receipts through the phone, create customized financial reports, and track inventory. I love QuickBooks. All my companies use QuickBooks to this day. One of the reasons why I love it, it's a full-blown accounting software. Meaning it can do anything that you ever thought an accounting software could do. It has a very professional look and feel, so you can send professional looking invoices, receipts, things of that nature. It's very, very professional. Management reports, it's so professional. Best software in the industry according to surveys. Plenty of discounts offered. I'm a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, so I do offer discounts through my Pro Advisor program. So please feel free to reach out. I'll leave my contact information at the end for you guys to reach out. Excuse me. And then it saves business owners on a ton of time and energy when it comes to this stuff. It saves business owners on average about 10 hours or so per month. If you're an attorney earning $500 a month, that's about $5,000 you're putting back in your pocket. Times 12, that's $60,000. Time is money, especially when it comes to this QuickBooks. You'll be surprised. It's very, very, very cost effective. It starts off at $7 a month. $7 a month, you can get a full-blown QuickBooks up and running, and they even give you 30 days for free. All right, so it's not what it sounds like, and I'm on a QuickBooks board actually. I actually sit on the Intuit. I'm one of the Pro Advisor board members essentially, but it's a great software to use. I'm part of the reason, or basically I'm the one that tells QuickBooks, hey, you got to change this about this feature, because a business owner doesn't understand it. And they're adding more and more features. Now you can even apply for the PPP through the QuickBooks program. So if anybody ever has any feedback, please feel free to let me know. We do go to council meetings twice a year, and so I do have some say as to what the software can do, what the software can't do. The con is that it does require some training, not really super extensive, but at least 1 hour of training in order for you to get the good feel, the look, and everything of that. So I know we're running short on time. We're at 2:35 on the dot. I'm somebody who likes to be on time. So here's my contact information. You can email me at jb@badutaxservices.com. Phone number is 773-679-7198. I know we will have a Q&A session, once we're done with the second presentation. We're more than happy to answer any questions you guys may have. For the Facebook folks, please feel free to type in any question or anything. I'll respond directly via chat. But yeah, leave it back to you, Ponder. Honestly, yeah, that question might require a consultation, because there's so many, there's so many components to it. For a lot of my clients, we usually bank through Chase. Chase is the bank that we usually bank through. And I know Chase is going through some issues right now with service and everything, but they're truly a great bank. I've heard U.S. Bank is also business friendly. You can go to your local bank. They have banks like GM Bank, which is, I believe, one of the only African-American owned black, bank that's left in Chicago. It's owned by Dr. Pakwasi Ndum. So that's a, small local bank that you guys can use. They're one of the largest banks in Ghana, though, which is where I'm originally from. So GM Bank, I do have a relationship with them. Chase is also good. I do assist clients with going overseas and, all that good stuff. We do have offices in India, the Philippines, and Ghana as well. So, yeah, that question is a bit of a mouthful, but I would say it's probably best to schedule a consultation for that one. Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely, yeah. We'll talk all about it. I mean, in general, as a business owner, you can write off anything, right? Anything that can be tied back to your business, cell phone, picture, whatever it is, as long as you have a justifiable business reason for that expense, whether you travel to Philippines to take pictures and you're a photographer, right? I mean, whether or not you ended up enjoying that time doesn't really matter. As long as you went, you had a justifiable business reason for going, or you can document something like a board meeting, which Apple takes advantage of and all these other big companies, so why shouldn't we? But basically, all of that. So as somebody who's blogging, a computer, I would expect to see on your books, a phone, advertising, a website. These are so many things that you can deduct. And honestly, with the whole overseas thing, it's not really as complicated as it seems, nor is it as necessary as some people make it. Like this whole offshore, I need to move overseas to save taxes. No, it's a myth that's out there that I think, let's start with the basics first. Let's start with the core business. Let's make the money. Let's do the things the right way here. And let's worry about those other things, like those offshore and all those things. Let's worry about those maybe at a later time, or leave it up to somebody like myself to figure out those things. So yes, if you travel overseas, that's a business write-off. Right? I don't know if that's where the question was getting to. And overall, you get access to a lot of deductions when you form an LLC or an INC. Yeah, so the bank is GN Bank. GN Bank is owned by one of my mentors, who's Pakwasi Indun. It's on the south side. Basically, if you go on, they have one on like 47th, 47th and King Drive, around that area. Yeah. Yeah, it used to be ISF, Illinois Services Federal Bank, but they changed their name to GN Bank for branding purposes. Yeah, because they have They have a lot of banks in Ghana right now. Cool. Sounds good. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in on the Facebook Live. Just to give you guys some insight, we're actually on Zoom right now. And yeah, so basically we're on Zoom right now, and we're doing a workshop for small business owners, talking about taxes, talking about legal. Right now the attorney is presenting, and of course you guys won't be able to hear because we're doing it on Zoom. So I'll go ahead and end the the live stream, because we will have another Q&A session in about 15 minutes or so. But I don't want you guys to wait or anything like that. We will have another session tonight from about, from 6 to 8 o'clock with the Chicago Urban League, talking about budgeting, saving, and all that good stuff. So thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely appreciate it. Let me just see if we have any questions or anything. Yeah, appreciate it, Sydney. So yeah, we'll be back tonight. Thank you guys. Feel free to reach out to me if you guys ever need anything, any questions or anything. Same thing with Instagram. Can't forget about my Instagram folks. But thank you guys, and see you tonight.